Welcome to the Programming Lions podcast, where we are on a mission to be more productive humans. So whether you are watching on YouTube or listening in through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you being here. Today, we have an incredible guest on. You are not going to want to miss this. Jonathan Negretti. He's going to talk about his World Marathon Challenge, overcoming tremendous mental and physical adversity. So buckle up. Let's get into it.
The hardest part is not giving up. The hardest part is not saying quit.
7 continents in 7 days to run 7 marathons, 183 miles.
Jonathan, would you mind giving us a little background on yourself?
You know, I was thinking about how you kind of give that 30-second elevator pitch about yourself. And I think it boils down to one sentence. I'm just an ordinary guy trying to do extraordinary things. It really isn't more complicated than that, because I'm not anything special. I just try to do things that people would perceive as harder than what most people could think they could accomplish themselves, in hopes that it inspires others to do crazy things like that.
I think of this as the 777 challenge. Maybe it has a formal term, but could you sort of just break down what this marathon challenge was that you did around 4 years ago, if I remember right?
Timing wise, it was right before the world shut down for COVID. So this was in February of 2020. It's called the World Marathon Challenge. It is essentially what you just said. It's 7 marathons in 7 straight days on all 7 continents in the world. So when you tell people that, that's the reaction you get. Most people start shaking their head.
Yeah.
And people start clarifying it. Wait, 7 straight days? So it is 1 marathon on one continent, the next day, another marathon on another continent, and you continue that until you hit all 7 continents.
I didn't know it was 7 days. I just thought it was like
7 marathons.
Oh, just 7 marathons on 7 continents. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 7 days.
You could do it over 4 years. No, it's just 1 week.
How did you become aware and get interested in this 777?
Well, let me back up and give you guys a little bit of context first, because it's important you understand how I got to the challenge. I'll tell you how I learned about the challenge, but back in the early 2000s, 2001, 2002, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is part of the IBD family. I lived with this for quite a while and tried all different medication, did all different forms of therapy in an effort to not have to face any sort of surgery.
Yeah.
Eventually in 2014, 2015, my condition worsened. All the medication I was doing stopped working. And I met with a surgeon at the Mayo Clinic, and he offered the opportunity to have surgery, which is called a J-pouch procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've had another guest on here,
Yeah,
Axel.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was set to do the same sort of thing. And that's a 3-part surgery, as Axel kind of explained. But there is the possibility that you can't ever have what's called the takedown surgery, which would reconnect your small intestine to your rectum. There's a chance you can't ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was the unlucky recipient of that chance. And so I couldn't have the takedown, which means I now live permanently with an ostomy.
Yeah.
Back when I had the surgery, you're in the hospital recovering from this major surgery to have my entire large intestine removed from my body and my rectum and everything else. And the doctor comes in and they want to get you up and have you walk around. And I couldn't make it from my hospital bed to the door. I remember telling my wife, I'm going to go so much further one day. Now, I never knew when I said that I'd be going to run around the world. I was never a runner.
Okay.
I was never a runner in my life. I never ran races. I hadn't done a half marathon or a full marathon. So it inspired me to sign up for my first half marathon after I started to recover from these surgeries.
Okay.
I did that, and I kind of got hooked into running. I really, really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
That then brought me to the World Marathon Challenge. And a buddy of mine, Rick Steele, who is a crazy athlete who does all sorts of crazy, crazy things, came to me one day and said, "Hey, do you want to go run around the world?" And he literally called me and said this. And I laughed. It's like Will did. I was like, "What?" And he's like, "There's this organization we can jump in with, and we can literally do a marathon at every continent in the world. I had never run a marathon. I'd done half marathons. So put that in perspective. We're talking about running 13 miles, right? Versus running 26 miles.
Yeah.
I just jumped in and said, let's go. And I trained really hard to do this.
Yeah.
But I never ran a full marathon before I did my first one on this adventure. Yeah.
How
So my first full marathon was in South Africa.
Wow.
how did you train?
I hired a coach because I really do believe in having someone give you a plan.
You're like my David Goggins, you know. I mean, you're like the closest thing I know to. But I'm picturing this. Have you ever seen that meme where David Goggins is on Mars and he's running? He's like, "Stay hard."
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
picturing.
That
you
guy's
at midnight.
that guy's on a different planet, literally,
I
in that
know.
meme.
So you mentioned charity before. Why'd you want to raise money for charity, and how'd you do that?
I wanted to do this for charity because I didn't want this to be about me. Even though there's a big aspect that I had to go physically complete this challenge, I didn't want people to say, well, great, you did that. That's really cool. But why did you do it? I wanted to have that why be more important than the thing I was actually doing. And the why was to bring awareness to ulcerative colitis, to Crohn's disease, to people that suffer from things that fall within that IBD community. And the reason for that is because this is a disease that wrecks your body. And if you haven't had the pleasure of meeting someone who's been through it, and I know you have your buddy Axel who has, you have to understand how terrible this really is. It's not typically terminal. With IBD diseases, there typically isn't a life and death situation, but it does completely
Upends your life.
Upend your life. Great word. It debilitates you completely and changes your life drastically. And so I wanted to let people know that this is a very important disease that they should be aware of. These diseases, excuse me, and that there should be the same amount of sympathy and compassion and support. And so when I came up with this idea, there's a friend of mine out in San Diego who created this bear. This is Ollie the ostomy bear. This guy came with me, and he has an ostomy. So I'll actually show you. He's a little teddy bear, and there's his little ostomy, and there's his little ostomy right there with the button.
Okay.
And then he puts his little bag back on. And the reason that she created this bear was because she was seeing all these kids like Axel that were in hospitals having these surgeries, and they were scared, and they felt alone, and they felt afraid. And she said, well, what makes people feel better than a teddy bear? And so they created this teddy bear to start to give to kids in hospitals to make them feel a little bit more comforted in this really difficult time in their life. And so I said, I want to raise enough money to send 1,000 of these bears out. So it was a $50,000 raise is what we were trying to accomplish. And so I started this whole promotional idea of let's get this message out and support me in this run, and all this money is going to go to charity. We absolutely hit our goal. It was really cool to place that many bears out there, and it's a really, really neat thing that she did. And so that's kind of why Ollie still sits in my office today and is a memory of a really cool thing that I was able to accomplish.
Yeah, that's really cool. Our friend Axel that came on also has just an incredible attitude. And so it's really inspiring to see folks like yourselves turn something like that into something positive.
When life kicks you in the teeth, and it happens to all of us in all different ways on a daily basis, you really have to look at that opportunity as an opportunity and not as some sort of circumstance that you have to now deal with. I've given talks at the Mayo Clinic to patients that are just kind of withering away and really struggling to live life. And I all I can tell them is you have to make choices on the things that you're battling. And you have to say, I'm not going to be a victim of these circumstances. I'm going to embrace this opportunity. I was suffering so bad. I was so physically ailing when I went through this surgery that this really gave me my life back. I never could have done the 777 challenge if not for this surgery. I couldn't have done it when I was sick. And so I just feel like that's such a gift. To have that gift and have that opportunity is such a special thing. And perspective is so important, right? I have a tattoo on my ribs that says perspective for that reason, because it's how you choose to look at things.
Just before we even get into sort of the physical and mental aspects of the daily grind of marathons 7 days in a row in 7 continents, just logistically with the time factor of 7 days in these largely diverse geographical locations.
It's important to understand that I jumped into an organization called the World Marathon Challenge to do this, and they logistically had that part set up. They had a chartered plane that was going to take us to each continent. They'd already mapped out the locations there. They set up the race. We had a little small group that came with us, about 40 people, and we were all going to do this together. And so logistically, this company puts all of this together. The clock starts when you start running Marathon 1. So you have 168 hours. That's 24 hours times 7, right? To complete 183 miles. So you're running more miles than you have hours to do it. And the clock doesn't stop when you stop running. The clock continues to run consistently. And if you don't complete it, then you can't say you've done the World Marathon Challenge. And you get medals and if you for each race, and then obviously if you complete the whole thing. But this is important towards the end of the story. We finish in Miami, Florida. I was against the clock. There was only so much time left on the clock. And if I didn't complete it by noon that day, I was going to fail the entire thing. So that's really important to understand. Like you have to when the clock starts. So we're in South Africa and we're going to go to Antarctica. We're going to start this thing in Antarctica. And the reason I like to do this is Antarctica is the hardest marathon because of weather conditions. It's also the hardest to get to.
Yeah.
So you have a 6-hour flight from Cape Town, which is on the coast of South Africa, down to Novo Antarctica, which is this Russian research base. And they're letting us come in there and run. That's where we go, right? So we go to the airport, scheduled to go to the airport. We go to the airport. Everyone's all excited. We're talking to each other, getting to know everyone. Rick was on this trip with me, so I obviously knew Rick. We have our videographer, Jeremy, and we're getting to go, and we're sitting there, and hours start to pass by. And we start to get a little concerned that we're not getting on a plane. And then we hear that the plane that we had chartered, which was a plane that is used for one of the English soccer clubs.
Okay.
So this is
it's
their
a nice
travel
plane.
plane. Nice plane,
Yeah.
right? The pilot won't fly into Antarctica because the weather is so bad that he doesn't believe he can land on a sheet of ice.
Wow. Okay.
So then we go back to the hotel because our pilot won't leave, so we can't go. And we're told to just wait. So now we're like, okay, when are we going to go? And we're getting updates from the race director, and he's kind of like, we're trying to figure it out. We're waiting. There's great footage of us sitting there in the room, just like we have the camera rolling, and we're just talking. And all of a sudden we get a text message that says, change of plans. We're running in Cape Town tonight. So we're now changing. We're going to run in subarctic temperature, and now we're running in hot, humid weather. And that's just mentally. And
I was gonna say, what just a wrench to throw into your mental game plan.
Yeah, and you've got to pivot and be ready. And so, but then we're so excited to start running that we're just, let's go, let's run.
Yeah.
So we actually started in Cape Town. That wasn't the plan. And once the clock starts, it doesn't stop. So he had to have a plan in place to get us to Novo Antarctica.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets crazy. The pilot still won't fly us to Antarctica. So he pivots. We jump on a Russian cargo plane.
I was just going to say, the Russians do it.
The Ruskies are awesome. These guys do not care. We jump on a cargo plane. So imagine what you see in the movies, like with the big back that opens up like this, and they jump out. That's what we're on. We're in cargo seats. Cargo seats are less comfortable,
than bolted to the side of the plane type of thing,
plane with straps that come over. And you're just holding on, right? God. The Russians are awesome. We get up. This is why they're awesome. We get up in the air, and they come out, and they're like, "I'm not gonna do a Russian accent because I do a really bad job." But they basically say, "You can just lay wherever you want because you have a 6-hour flight." Everyone gets out of their jump seats, and we're laying on the bottom of this cargo plane. It's just hard metal.
Yeah.
But we're trying to make ourselves comfortable with our packs, and we basically go to sleep. And there's no windows in a cargo plane, by the way. So you don't ever know where you are. And all of a sudden they wake us all up, and they're like, "Get back in your jump seats, right? We're gonna land." If you still don't know, you have no bearing on where you are. And so you just get in, and then you just touch down on this sheet of ice. The Russians are fearless. They land on a sheet of ice. This blizzard is happening. We're in a blizzard. We get out, and they put us in, they have these little huts where the people that are at this research base live, right?
Yeah.
With this, it's a hole in the ground. That's your bathroom. And these little cots. And we're basically not doing anything to make you warm. It is so cold. It was 30 below, and it's so cold. And they say, give us a minute while we set up this race course.
Yeah.
And they can't, because of the blizzard, they can't set up a big race course. So they set up these flags a mile around the plane on snowmobiles. They go out and set up these flags, and we have to just do 1 mile loops for 26 times running around a plane.
My.
On what, this is where it gets even wilder. One way out, the wind is so bad, you could stand still and it would just blow you down the ice. You literally could, it would just take you down the ice. If you're on ice, it would just take you down. Like it is so bad coming the other way that you could lean almost parallel and it's just going to hold you up. It is that intense.
How did you deal with that, the wind and the cold there?
Well, I talked to myself a lot. So I was bundled up, right? You have like special gear. We bought special shoes and I had a lot of self-talk, and I just told myself, you're not weak. I didn't use those words, as you can imagine, but I said, you're not weak, and you're stronger than you think you are.
I got an idea what term you did use.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
And it was 1 foot in front of the other. Yeah. And it literally was 1 foot in front of the other.
Did you have to wear like spiked track shoes type of gear? Okay.
Yep, exactly right.
Whoa.
They were just for Antarctica. I actually left them because we go back to Cape Town to pick up our gear to then go to Australia.
Yeah.
I left them in the hotel. They were brand new. I wore them once just for that race. And
You're not going to go back to Antarctica and run?
Now we're going to go back to Antarctica. And so I told the staff that this wasn't a mistake. You can keep the shoes. Like, I don't need them.
Wait, so you slept in a hotel there?
The first night, that was the only night we were in a hotel. The rest of the time we slept on the plane.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're saying like after you finished a marathon in Antarctica, then you just went back onto the plane and slept there?
Yeah.
That's
for the
what
entire
happened
week.
the whole time?
We lived on a plane. We used the bathroom on the plane, changed on the plane, slept on the plane. We would get to go in like the airport as we were traveling to like go in the bathroom, and you try to like wash up by using like the sink. There was no showers. It was a mess for a week straight. A mess. You lived on your plane.
Wow.
Yeah. And the seats went back about how Max is sitting. So they were never flat, but you could put your feet out because they would like come out, but they weren't ever flat. So you're never sleeping flat for the week. You were sitting.
So it was like economy plus it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you didn't
The rush.
how you couldn't lay down on the plane?
No, the seats went out and they went like the back would go back to about how Max is sitting.
Yeah.
And then your feet could go out like that, but you were never flat.
Wow.
That's on the private plane that took us around the world that just wouldn't fly to Antarctica.
Yeah.
So we had to take
the Russian cargo plane.
The Russian cargo plane got us to and from Russia.
Yeah.
And they were awesome.
Wow. That is
The cargo plane.
It was so
this
wild.
sounds like something out of a crazy movie.
It felt like something out of a crazy movie.
That's unbelievable.
The Russians will do anything.
They will. They will.
When you're running a marathon every day, recovery, hydration, rest has to be huge. So you're doing all of that in the comfort of an aircraft.
Yeah. We brought compression sleeves, the ones that go, the Normatex that go on your legs.
Yeah.
In order to put those on, we couldn't sit in the seat because they wouldn't fit. So we would lay in the middle aisle on the ground with those on.
Yeah.
For like the half hour, and then you go back in your seat.
I imagine you'd also want to be doing whether it's foam rolling or stretching or massage gun stuff.
There are guns. Yep, we brought those.
Okay.
Yep.
There's not much space to do any of that, huh?
No, you make do and you help each other. And there were times, so imagine like,
were you massaging each other on this plane?
There may have been a little bit of that.
Okay.
There may have been a little bit of that. You're also, this is funny. So you see how Max's legs are out, right? Like laying down out, but eventually want to elevate your legs. It's better for recovery. So we're putting our legs over the seat in front of us. And so I think there's an image somewhere of all of us laying down, and all of our legs are propped up. So you have someone's legs right above you. Imagine not showering, not their stinky feet.
Okay.
But you just learn to live with it.
This is the next question I was going to ask is, can you shower?
No, there's no shower.
There's no shower?
There was no shower.
They didn't like hose you all down before you got on the plane?
There was no shower.
Man,
Remember shower?
the poor janitors had to clean that plane.
Oh, it was probably terrible. That plane was
I
wrecked.
feel they should I hope they got like twice as much than they normally got paid.
Definitely some tipping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The podcast
Bringing
and
back
tipping.
the last podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
tipping.
keep Matt in here.
Yeah.
Wow, that is wild.
So quickly, just to tell you where we went, so you can, and then we can talk about each one if you want. But we went from Cape Town, South Africa to Novo, Antarctica, back to Cape Town just to pick up our stuff. So we left our pack there because we knew we had to get back to our plane.
Yeah.
So we did that, picked up our stuff, jumped on the plane, went to Perth, Australia.
Okay.
After Perth, Australia, we go to Dubai.
Yeah.
United Arab Emirates, and
Okay.
run there. That's a wild story, just getting in and out of that country. And then then we go from there to Spain,
Okay.
to Madrid. And that's where my wife actually met me and ran half of that race with me, which was awesome.
Okay.
Then from Madrid, we go to Fortaleza, Brazil,
Mm.
the hottest race I've ever run in my life, hottest place I've ever been to in my life. And then from
Where's
there,
Fortaleza? Is that
Fortaleza, the
Sao
southern
Paulo?
tip of,
Okay.
of Brazil. And then from there to Miami, Florida. And that's where we finish. Did I get them all? So I got Cape Town, Antarctica, Australia, Dubai, that's
Australia?
Asia. And then Madrid, Fortaleza, United States.
Wow.
So South America, North America.
Okay. Okay. So that's the sequence of events.
Yep.
Wow. That's
Tell me after,
unbelievable.
so you probably were like, on high after Cape Town, then this experience of going to Antarctica and running there. How did you feel after that event on the plane? Were you telling yourself, oh my gosh, okay, I made it through this, but I'm 2/7 of the way?
Yeah, that's a real concern. Let's back up to Cape Town. We start running in Cape Town, and
Mhm.
someone says, of the 40 of us that started, someone says, who's the guy who's never run a marathon? And so I raise my hand, and these people are running next to me, and they're like, this is your first marathon ever. I'm like, this is my first marathon ever. They're like, it takes some sort of insanity to
Yes.
do what you're about to try to do.
Yes.
And, I
Or a
took that as-
giant teddy bear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A
giant
giant
Ollie.
pair of teddy bears.
Yeah, giant pair of teddy bears. And so I said, you know what, we'll see what happens. And
Mhm.
and off we go. So we finished the first one, and I hadn't run it. I had no time to base my run off of. And
Mhm.
you could look all this up. So I don't want to misrepresent what I did. I finished each marathon. I did not do them fast.
Yeah.
I did it in just under 5 hours in Cape Town. That was my first marathon ever. It's
Yeah.
not a wicked pace at all, right?
Yeah.
The world record is like less than 2.
Speed seems to be a secondary priority in this
It was.
endeavor anyway, right?
Antarctica was like 7 hours. I was out there for 7 hours.
Oh my
I was they
God.
they had to start pulling people off because we had to get back and keep going, right?
Yeah.
At 8 hours. So I was just inside the threshold.
Okay.
So I'm on the plane going to Perth, Australia, just trying to be like warm. At this point, my body was frozen to the core. And so I'm
Right.
just trying to warm up, and I'm not even really thinking about anything other than just get warm and get to Australia.
when you were running, were there icicles forming on your nose?
Yeah, we had to wear ski goggles. And like a full, like the ski mask, like if you guys go skiing, the ski
Wow.
mask that like covers your face, you had to, because you'll get frostbite. You can't
Mhm.
not, they wouldn't let you run unless you had full covering. So we had ski goggles on that were constantly freezing. Like so I just condensation from sweating would then freeze in the goggles. And I had to take the goggles off at like one of the aid station, try to like warm them up with like a warm like water bottle, and just like to get so I can see,
Mhm.
because they were freezing. Yeah. And
That's
then
crazy.
full face gear. You couldn't see my face at all. It was so cold that the race director at the finish line was in his truck, and he just opens the window and leans out and hands me the medal. He won't even get out of his truck to like put it on me. It's so cold. He just leans out as I'm coming through the finish line and hands me my medal. Here's a bizarre phenomenon, and I've asked everyone that I've raced with if they have the same effect. No one had jet lag on this entire trip. I have a theory of why people didn't experience jet lag, but we get to Australia at midnight. So we're starting to run at 2 a.m. in the
Mhm.
morning, right?
Okay.
I just know it's 2 a.m. because I happen to look at a watch, not because I
Yeah.
was like really conscientious of the time. And I had this like thought on this race that this is an out and back. So, but because it's an out and back, you're going to see a lot of the really accomplished runners. There's some highly accomplished runners. Rick is one of them. He was the first place finisher from the United States.
Okay.
So he's flying, right? Going at a much faster pace than I can run at. But I get to see all these people multiple times because of this out and back course. And I decided before I ran that I'm just going to smile at everyone that runs by and
Okay.
say, good job.
Okay.
Here's what's wild. I just thought I'm just going to do that. And because Antarctica was so brutal and no one was happy and no one was like that. Now I'm going to just we're in nice weather. I'm just going to be happy. And I'm just going to say
Yeah.
good job to every runner. I ran my best marathon time in Antarctica. 3rd marathon in, and I'm running my fastest time. I'm under 4 hours
Wow. Okay.
just at 4 hours. I'm sorry, in Australia.
Wow.
And I feel like it's because I put out good energy. I got good energy back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was,
There's
everyone was
something
like,
about energy.
I made so many friends on that race. Everyone was like, you were so supportive. You were just like, every time we saw you, thumbs up, good job. You didn't like get in this bad headspace. You were just like so happy and positive. And I feel like I got that back
Yeah.
tenfold. It was really it was such a cool thing.
Yeah. That's interesting.
pretty
There's
cool.
something about energy. I don't think we fully understand it as humans, but there is something about positive and negative energy and what it does to a person. But I think you're being a little modest. Like, that's a pretty decent pace.
Yeah, for marathon 3 of 7, sure. Sure.
From Perth, you go to Dubai.
Dubai.
Whoa.
So now you're in the UAE, and they're full. You go through the airport and they're full like sheiks in robes, and it's everything you see on TV and in the movies. And they're these guys at the customs are like really looking at my passport, like spending an odd number of minutes looking at my passport. This is a real passport, ladies and gentlemen. This was not a fake passport, but they were very concerned with my passport. They were equally as concerned with what the women were wearing, because there were women that came with us on this trip, female runners. In fact, a girl broke the world record. Kristen broke the world record for the fastest to ever run around the world on this trip with us, which is really cool to be a part of.
Yeah.
But they are wearing short shorts and like halter tops because that's what you run in. And they don't like that. They want these women to be fully clothed.
Sure.
So there was a little bit of tension there from the folks at the airport with how we were dressed, and because we're ready to, you would change on the plane when you were landing to go run.
Yeah.
Like you had, because there's no one else to do it. And they didn't like that. And then we're running on the boardwalk in the early morning hours, and prayer is a big deal in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have these like sirens that go off citywide to alert everyone it's time to pray.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the middle of our race and these sirens are going off and people are literally dropping down onto their mats to pray. And I didn't know if it was disrespectful. I didn't know what to do. I was like, do we stop running?
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you stop?
So we asked the race director and he said, just keep running. We got to finish our race.
Yeah.
It's not disrespectful. They understand that we're here for an event.
Okay.
And so we finished while people are literally praying next to us, and you hear it throughout the city, the prayer going on, interacting with different cultures. It was wild.
Yeah. United Emirates. Then it was Madrid.
And Gianna, my wife, meets me in Madrid. She meets me. We run on an F1 racetrack.
Oh.
So we're in Madrid and they take us to an F1 racetrack.
Okay.
Here's what I didn't know about an F1 racetrack. They're hilly.
Yes.
I thought they were flat. I don't know why in my mind I thought F1 racetracks are gonna be, they're hilly.
Yeah.
So we're on this racetrack that they shut down for the night to let us run because it's a perfect distance to run this marathon. And again, we're doing laps. Gianna runs every lap in between. She runs every other lap with
runs,
me.
rests.
So
runs,
she runs a half marathon essentially with some rest in between while I'm running. What was great about this is now I'm at our 5th marathon. I'm starting to really like suffer.
Yeah.
But every lap in between, I was so excited just to get back to the start line to see her again and run with her again because we talked the entire time. And so it was this shot of adrenaline that I got. It was so awesome that she came. I needed it at that point in the race. Don't know if I would have finished Spain without her.
I'll bet that was a big incentive to get through and be able to see her on every other lap. That's a really smart way to do it instead of just running the first half with you.
Right.
And then you're on your own.
Yeah.
Being able to see her every other lap, I'm sure that, did keep you kind of energized and motivated. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And so this is race 5. So you're feeling it. You're feeling it.
I'm feeling good. And I put a decent time down still. Even there. Then we go to Fortaleza, Brazil, and all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
We
hot, humid.
We're running in the middle of the day.
Uh-huh.
It's 95 degrees with 100% humidity.
Wait a minute. So this is the first, it seems like most races up to this point have been very early morning or at night.
Yep.
Okay. And this one's middle of the day.
Middle of the day, just timing when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
Middle of the day, sun is at its highest peak. It is 95 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. The sun is just beating on you with 100% humidity. I had never experienced this sort of environment before. We live in Arizona. It's hot here.
Yeah.
But you're not running a marathon.
Humidity is different.
It's not 100% humid. It's usually 20% humidity here at worst, like during the summer, other than monsoon season. It was so miserable. And we have to run this marathon where we have they gave us sponges, ice sponges that you're putting on your head and running with, holding on your head to cool your core temperature down. One guy passed out. The leader of the entire event, the male leader, passed out and bailed out. And the 6th marathon, he can't finish. I don't know how I got through this race, but I did. And we get on a bus. They gave us a private motorcade back to the airport. They shut down the freeway. Police were escorting our bus to the airport because they knew we're against the clock. We're running out of time.
Time is getting short.
it's during rush hour. They take us they clear the freeway. Cars are like pulling over, like, what's going, who's on this bus? Thinking like it's a professional sports team. We're not.
It's Jonathan Negretti,
Yeah.
people. It's Jonathan.
So I'm a big deal. And I start to feel absolutely terrible, like sick beyond sick.
Yeah.
I felt like so bad.
Body's probably shutting down at this point.
Yeah.
Man,
And
that's
dehydrated.
torture.
Yeah. They had a doctor that traveled with us, and the doctor said, you have heat exhaustion.
Right.
And I'm like, what's the remedy? He's like, hydrate and rest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we have like, I don't know, an 8-hour flight to Miami. He's like, do your best. And so I get to the airport. I feel cold. It's still 100 degrees and I'm wearing a hoodie and like a jacket on top of the hoodie that I had with me because I was so cold because I'm freezing. I'm shivering internally. I call Gianna, my wife, and I say, that's it. I can't go anymore. I'm done. I'm going to bail out of Miami.
Oh.
And she was very compassionate and very kind. And I probably needed someone to say,
She is very compassionate and kind. She's one of the nicest people I know.
Well, thank you. But she should have been a little tough. I need tough love at that point. I need someone to tell me, suck it up.
Suck it up. You can make it.
Yeah. But she was very compassionate. And I said, I don't think I can do it. And she's like, well, if it ends here, it ends here. You ran 6 marathons without ever having run one.
Yeah.
In 6 straight days. I put ice packs on my knees. They were shot. I broke my leg on this trip. That's a whole different story.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I had a stress fracture in my right leg.
How could you run if you had a broken leg?
Well, a stress fracture you can run with is just extremely painful, but you can run with it. But it's not like a full compound fracture.
No, that makes sense.
And so I didn't know it was broken. I just knew I had this pain in my leg. I got back and we did a MRI and X-rays, and you could see the stress fracture.
When did the pain from when did the stress fracture, do you think, start to manifest itself?
Probably marathon 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. Like when I was in Dubai. It's painful.
Dude.
Yeah. So you're just trying to grit it out. So we get to Miami. I wake up. I feel awful still. And I'm like, how much time do I have? The race director's like, you have 6 hours to finish this thing. So everyone goes out. And I said, I can't, like, my knee is like wrecked. My left knee is wrecked and my right leg is broken. I was like, what if I do a fast walk? And so I started pacing. I started calculating a fast walk and a 15-minute a mile pace. I was like, I can finish this in 6 hours. I can get to the finish line. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to walk as fast as I can, like a strict, like a really, really fast walk. I can't run at this point. It's too painful. So I just start walking. And again, it's a loop course. So it's not a loop. It's the out and back. So you're seeing a lot of the same competitors. People are rooting me on and they're like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And I realize I'm one of the last out there on the course. Everyone's finished at this point. And I'm like looking at my watch and a whole group of people come out to walk with me. All my fellow competitors come out, Rick and everyone, to walk with me. And like, they're like, you're going to finish this. We're going to walk with you. And I grabbed Ollie. I didn't tell the story. Ollie came with me on the last lap of every race. Started this in Cape Town, and I would bring him with me. It would signify I'm on my last lap. It would also be this cool experience and supporting the charity. And I'm bringing him with him. So I put him on my arm, literally like this, and would run the last lap like this, holding him. Right.
Yeah.
And I get to the finish line. There's 7 pictures of me holding him up. And I get to Miami, the finish line. They have this big finish line set up with photography, and we're down on Miami Beach running, and I finish with Ollie. And this photo, the joy in my face when I scream and hold Ollie up and was unbelievable. And all I told myself, there's over 3 million people that suffer from IBD in the United States. And all I told myself is I got 3 million people behind me that are pushing me to that finish line. This isn't about me anymore. This is about them. And so when I got to the finish line, I fell to my knees after yelling out this scream of joy. And then, I got all these hugs from everyone, Rick and everyone. And then I wanted just to find my phone and call my wife because she had gone back to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I called her and we just cried.
Yeah. I imagine. Jeez.
It was so emotional. We just cried.
Yeah. It's got to be an incredibly emotional experience because you've pushed your mind and your body beyond probably all the limits you thought were possible. And then you get across the finish line and you've got this great cause that you're also fighting for. It had to be just an incredible moment.
So I got a massage. It was not very helpful or enjoyable at all. Tried to get into like a plunge, got to take a shower for the first time and lay in a bed for the first time. But I was scheduled to get home back to Phoenix from Miami. When I was walking through the airport, hobbling, like sliding my feet I get to security, and the TSA guy looks at me and he goes, "What happened to you?" I just looked broken.
Yeah.
And I just, sunburned. I just broken. And I was like, "You wouldn't believe it if I said it." He goes, well, try me out. And I was like, I just ran 7 marathons in 7 days on all 7 continents. And he didn't know what to say. He just said, next. And I just didn't know what to say.
It is crazy.
You
I mean,
are
you are clearly the
crazy.
craziest dude that I know, which is why I love you. But you do some. This is just one of like many crazy things that you've done and experienced. So I think we'll have to have you on again for some of those other topics. But this one is unique in its craziness for sure.
Yeah.
What do you have any more like wild like challenges like on your horizon?
Any more challenges that you want to do?
Yeah, I do. I actually have a few. And I want to say this as I answer this question. I was thinking about this because people have asked me this, what's next? What's next? Everyone wants to know what you're doing next. I'm not trying to top what I did.
It's hard to top that.
It is hard. And you shouldn't. When you come up with challenges, and I encourage everyone to push themselves constantly, but don't always try to one up yourself because that's going to be an impossible ask of yourself, right? You just have to think of the next challenge. So Will and I actually have a challenge coming up.
Yeah,
We're
That's
gonna
right.
we're gonna challenge. We're gonna have a challenge in the gym. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It is not going to be any less difficult for me than the World Marathon Challenge. People would say that's crazy. You ran 7 marathons. No, but it's not, because it's a different challenge. We're doing a strength-based challenge. We're doing box jumps, things that I'm not so comfortable with doing. That's going to be fun, and that's something I'm really excited to do.
It will be fun
to do with Will. At the end of the year in October, I'm going to attempt to do the rim to rim to rim challenge at the Grand Canyon. We're going to go from the South Rim to the North Rim and back to the South Rim the same day. It's just under 50 miles. You do it all in one shot. 20,000 feet of elevation change, a 70 degree temperature swing from the floor of the canyon to the top of the canyon. And I'm going to try to do it in about 14 hours. So we're going to try to accomplish that in October.
Yeah, that's also really insane.
There's some insanity there.
Boys, we've done some hiking up at the Grand Canyon, like
We have
a couple miles, not 50. I'm just trying to like put this in perspective because I did the Havasupai trip one time. I think it was a 12-mile hike in and out.
Yep.
We did those on different days, and that was heavy.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Because the elevation change to your point is pretty intense.
Yeah. So that's what's
so it's basically like climbing stairs.
Yeah, you just don't stop on both sides of the canyon. You got to climb up north, you touch the top, and you literally go right back down.
Like, which was most difficult out of all the things that you did? The recovery, the prep, or like the mental stuff, or like the mental things?
The mental prep is probably the hardest because your mind will start to play tricks on you, and it'll start to tell you that you can't do something that you can do, and that you're not capable of finishing something that you started. And you have to really fight against that feeling. You work out pretty consistently, and I'm really impressed to see you in the gym. There are times, I'm sure, where you're tired and you're like, I don't want to do another rep. I don't want to do another set. I don't want to push that's the feeling that we all get every day with everything that we attempt to do as human beings. And you have to be able to fight back and say, I'm stronger than what my mind is telling me I'm capable of. And that's really the hardest part of all of this, is the mental struggle, not the physical part.
Wow.
What are some of your biggest takeaways from this World Marathon Challenge?
The biggest takeaway for me, is I was the first person in the world to do this with an ostomy. So that's kind of cool to say. I'm the first person in the world to do this. Yeah. Now,
I just did my air horn.
Yeah. But here's the challenge that I'm issuing. I don't want to be the only person in the world to do this with an ostomy. So for all those out there that have this medical condition, go challenge yourself. And I certainly did not do it fast. I finished it. I have the 7 medals and the major medal for doing it. They're all up in my garage, but I didn't do it very fast. So I want someone to go shatter that.
All right. The challenge has been put out there.
The gauntlet has
to
been
the universe, to the GSD universe. But yeah, that is cool to be the first to do anything, especially that extreme is something that they can never take away from you. So very,
and then
very
I think
cool.
Secondarily, it's just that we're far more capable of doing things than we give ourselves credit.
I really appreciate Jonathan going through this World Marathon Challenge. What a wild experience. Let's transition over to
Rapid fire. All right.
Oh, wait, just a sec. So,
Don't explain, just answer.
just
Okay,
answer.
got it.
Nice. Ready? What do you prefer more, Apple or Android?
Apple.
Would you rather be trapped in a pit of spiders or snakes?
Spiders.
Okay. What would be your last meal?
Pizza.
Excluding us, who is your idol?
My wife.
Okay.
Answer.
Would you rather fight a 1,000-pound duck or 1,001-pound ducks?
That's not fair. I asked you this question. The little ducks.
The
The little
ducks?
1-pound ducks. I have a better chance.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather die to a great white shark or flaming hot volcano?
Oh, both those are terrible. The volcano seems like you'd go quicker.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So, if you could speak one word for the rest of your life, would you rather say snarf or meow?
Meow.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather, like your mascot, if you had a mascot, would you rather be a recliner or a garden hose?
Garden hose.
Okay. Nice. That's all our questions. Thank you so much for participating in
That was harder.
Rapid Fire.
That was harder than the 777.
So
Okay, fantastic rapid fire session, boys. Thanks, Jonathan, for entertaining those. And with that, why don't we wrap it up? This was a really interesting podcast. Talk about overcoming some massive challenges and adversity. Jonathan Negretti, thank you for sharing that. I hope people took a lot out of this. Any final words for the GSD Nation?
If you listen to this, if you were somehow inspired by this, that you put it into action. That would be my message to the two of you, to anyone listening, is find a challenge that seems a little bit outside of your comfort zone and then do it. Because that's the only way to shake up your ecosystem, in my belief. That's the only way to push yourself beyond what you think is possible right now today. It does not have to be 7 marathons. It doesn't have to be 7 miles. It could be something totally different, but put yourself through some sort of discomfort, because I'm telling you, on the other side of it is a realization that is so amazing that it'll change and reshape the way you look at life from here on out.
Yeah.
wow.
If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe, like, comment, share. It really makes a difference for us. Thank you. Until next time.